right before she died of a drug overdose, I had no idea she was taking drugs.
It gets you addicted. I mean, I started out like any drug, just doing it once a week. Then it became twice a week. Then it became almost every night, smoking a little bit. Then it became waking up with it, doing it all day long.
I didn't get to see my daughter, but her dad did.
He was a heroin addict. He, had struggled with heroin for a long time, but he had been clean for a year.
I just think to myself, like, wow, why? Why did you drive?
I looked to the left and I saw like this white truck. And I couldn't say nothing. I said, I go, oh, Jesus, like that. And it hit us.
You will be convicted of a felony if you're caught selling this stuff.
And what you don't really realize is you're putting your life in danger and everybody else around you in danger, and it's just not worth it.
It was 8 minutes from the time the officer left, and that my daughter was killed.
Broke my back at T12, severed my spinal cord, had a punctured lung, a torn diaphragm, and several broken ribs. And that's what left me paralyzed at the waist. And we got a speeding ticket. That's it.
Okay, so, gee, did that work? Still working. Okay, folks, we played that video, tried it, see how it worked. Did you hear it okay? Did everything work? Or maybe not? Well, thanks, Pat. Good to see you here, Pat. Well, so had any of you seen that video before? It is when you go to our About section, I think it plays when you first come to our channel. And it's I don't know, I think it's kind of cool. Anyway, so how are you folks doing? I wanted to talk to you a little bit about fentanyl. There is a link that I don't have. So I thought I would start with this website that shows the Senate Select, or not Senate, Congressional Select Committee, I guess. It shows the findings in CCP's role in the American fentanyl epidemic. And it is a long report. There's a video that's sort of a summary, and it's certainly worth some attention because it goes into their findings, and part of what they found was that the Chinese government has genuine tax breaks and other incentives to encourage companies to make the precursors to fentanyl that are shipped to the U.S. So it's a real interesting read and certainly worth exploring more. So I am going to post the link to that right here in the chat. And there you go. That link should get you there. Chelsea, good job. So how long? All right, Chelsea, since we got you here, how long were you using fentanyl? And when you started using fentanyl, did you know from the beginning you were using fentanyl, or did you believe you were using something else at first? $19 months. All right. Well, the 9 and the 0 are pretty close together on the keyboard. I guess we can let that go. So, were you using fentanyl from the beginning? Was that did you always know that you were using fentanyl, or did you start out using Xanax or uh, Percocet or Adderall or something that was counterfeit? That's enough of that page right there. The war on drugs has been a complete failure. Sort of. It's not a failure to the people who profit from it. And there's a lot of people who profit from it beyond the cartels, beyond the drug dealers, and beyond China. There has been some victories in the war on drugs. The one big one that DEA points at often is eliminating quaaludes. That eventually they left the market. Problem is, once a substance is defeated, something else takes its place. So, Chelsea, how you doing? 19 months is a long time. That's almost 2 years. You got to have a lot of tough stuff behind you. How's it going for you? You're right, Karma. Prevention strategies would be a much better way to spend our energy. Prevention, mental health, yes. Mental health is an issue, a big one. We're looking at starting a series that addresses some mental health stuff. PBS created an amazing documentary about the war on drugs and how the pharmaceutical industry created the crack and opioid epidemic. PBS, can you narrow it down? Was it like a Frontline thing, a Nova thing, a special feature broadcast? I really like Frontline. They have, in my eyes, they've slipped a little bit in the last couple of years, but for the most part, Frontline is the closest thing that I can think of to true journalistic filmmaking. Gosh, Stacy, thank you. I wish we could have that voice on Frontline, the guy who says now on Frontline the story of, and then whatever he says. But just the voice is, it just sounds so credible. It's crazy. But we work with what we got. I was a journalism major in college, and I believe that sticking with the canons of journalism is always a very important, critical thing. because to not do that is violating the trust of your audience, I think. Opioids Inc. Frontline. Very cool. Yes, I will. That's not that new, is it? I think I've seen it. So what I was saying about the canons of journalism, they're really dear to me, to be true to the story. And there's this great quote by Ted Koppel, who's with ABC Nightline for a long time. He said about journalists, we do not report the truth. We report the facts. And I thought that was really on target and how it ought to be. It's up to the audience to sort out the truth, but it's up to the journalist to give them the facts. Yeah, Pat. I have a couple of friends that do voice work too. That's another story, though. That's right, Stacy. Everyone filters the truth with their own bias and life experience and things like that. So there's no absolute truth, I think. So I showed you that. There was another. Well, I wanted to share with you guys these. Happy Sunday to you, too. Thank you for joining us. Glad you're here. And many of our usual suspects are here, and that's awesome. Good afternoon. Thank you for all that you do. Fly Girl. Hello, Fly Girl. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you guys. Follow the money always, Mary said. Yeah. Always follow the money. Vicky, families' traumas are also part of drug addiction and other addictions. Yes, Vicky, we have a series of addiction recovery stories on our channel too. Susie, hello, Susie. You're addicted to fentanyl for years and got clean 27 years ago. Wow. So I guess you're over the rough part, right? How is it being clean and sober? How's that going for you? Thank you, Dees. I just drink coffee and do my thing. So there is a thing that I wanted to find. That I'm having trouble finding because my history is just showing all of our. Maybe I got it. There was a chart. That ain't it. Nope. There we go. All right, I'm going to share another page with you guys. Recovery is a everyday process. It certainly is. It's The addiction is physical, but recovery is 100% a mental battle. And the things that I've learned since we started doing this kind of work is that accountability is important. Having the kind of accountability that meetings provide, AA meetings or NA meetings, meetings like that, the accountability to the peers that you're with, the accountability to your sponsor, or as you get farther along in the process, the accountability to the people you're a sponsor to is vital. Yes, that support system. Absolutely. That's part of what the accountability is, I believe. I find it very interesting how the young people with social media in their lives buy pills online. Yes, Jenny, the spiritual part is critical. I believe Pat could share a few things about that. The spiritual thing is it's a real thing, and it helps so many people. Yes, buying pills online. I was working on a project where I needed a picture to illustrate the idea of Xanax on sale online, and so I just searched for. I think I just searched for Xanax pictures, and one of the first results was a website in India where you could buy Xanax in bulk. Pretty scary. And I wasn't even looking for it. It wasn't the dark web or anything like that. It's just a website in India that came up, and it had a great picture of a pile of Xanax pills and a bottle, I think. It's very scary. So I wanted to talk for a minute. I have something else to show you guys. I'm going to show you a page. And this is a page CDC's website. And if you look at this chart right here, the green line is synthetic opioids other than methadone, meaning predominantly fentanyl. And there's some commenters on our channel that will blame former President Biden, or they'll blame President Trump. Some people blame Obama. And they're kind of all right and they're all wrong. If you look at this trend, this starts at 2013 when Obama was president. But the trend continues onward and upward with a slight reduction in growth right here, but still an upward climb. No drop, just a slightly slower upward climb. And then here, starting in 2019, there's even a faster climb up until 2021, and then it kind of arches off and even falls a little bit. Now that change in the rate could be a lot of things. Just because the death rate slowed, That doesn't mean it is whatever administration is the current administration when this happens. It doesn't mean the administration had anything to do with it. It could, but it could also mean that awareness got better, consumers got smarter. It could also mean that the manufacturing process got a little bit more precise. Because if the people who make these counterfeit pills were better at it, it wouldn't be getting the attention that it's getting now. If they weren't killing people, a lot of folks that care now wouldn't have cared. So this change right here, even from here to here, it goes down a little bit. And see that. Now that's the period when we started making these documentaries about fentanyl. Could have been us. Probably not. I realize that. But there was a whole lot of awareness efforts going on out there with bereaved parents who create their own nonprofit organizations and go out and do rallies and campaigns and protests and all kinds of awareness efforts. They make presentations in high schools and middle schools. I've done presentations in middle schools. So there's a lot of grassroots kind of efforts that are going on to curb the death rate in fentanyl. So there's no research that I've seen that tells us who deserves any credit for slowing the death rate. Do I feel closing the border will help this situation? And karma answers. No, Fly Girl. There's a lot of good humanitarian reasons to close the border, to do something to change the way things work at the border. And I say that because over the 20 years before the change in border policy, Sheriff Thaddeus Cleveland, you guys have probably seen him on TV. He's sort of a media hound. We met with him, and the big point he made was that for those 20 years leading up to the change in border policy that happened under the Biden administration, they would see 3 to 4 fatalities among illegal immigrants making their way into this country per year along the border, along his portion of the border, the portion of the border that he was responsible for. And since the Biden change, there's been, which is a 2.5 year period, 3 year period, really. There's been, I believe the number was 39 fatalities. That's a big spike. That's a good humanitarian reason to change the border policy. There's not a lot of evidence to indicate that changing the border policy as it affects illegal immigrants will have any effect on the fentanyl supply in this country, because immigrants are typically not found with any fentanyl on them at all. It's not immigrants. Most of the people bringing in fentanyl into this country that are caught are American citizens. So wow, I just took off on that, didn't I? Okay. All right, so that's enough of this chart. But I wanted you guys to look at the chart just because there's not a significant change in the problem when the administration changes. That's not saying they're not doing anything. Maybe each administration did, maybe not. but no impact yet. And 3 administrations have had a bite at this apple, and one of them gets a second bite. So they have no track record to be proud of. Who are you disagreeing with, Dees? You talking to me, or you just talking to each other? I believe that closing the border will save lives, and that's a big deal. Childhood trauma is the number one reason for drugs. There's no correlation between poverty and addiction. Could there be a correlation between poverty and childhood trauma? I don't know. Seems like maybe there could be. And if we all made examples out of some of them, yeah, I like the idea of making examples. Nature versus nurture. Ooh, we got debates going now. You're correct. It's American citizens who are hurting due to this situation, money issues. Yes. It has everything to do with closing the border. Gee, geez, you think? I think it has more to do with demand. If there wasn't demand, fentanyl could be laying in the street and nobody would care. But yeah, I think closing the border will probably have some kind of an impact because increased security makes it more difficult to smuggle stuff. But it's not illegal immigrants. Well, I won't say it's not. I'll say there's no evidence to indicate it's illegal immigrants. It comes into the U.S. through these borders, yeah, but it also comes in through the mail. It comes in through FedEx and the other shipping options that are out there. It also is made right here in the USA in makeshift labs in people's basements and garages and wherever with their own pill presses. We've had we've had stories where a drug dealer gets arrested for being in possession of a pill press. Fentanyl is a symptom of a much deeper issue, physical and mental pain that soothe with substance abuse. Yeah. Yeah, I can go with that. Sure. Here's the thing. You guys remember Blockbuster Video? Right? Blockbuster, you go in, you rent some DVDs or you rent some VHS tapes before that. Netflix did not put Blockbuster out of business by going after the studios that create the content that they sold or rented. Netflix put Blockbuster out of business by going after the demand, by offering a better alternative. That's just how business works. It doesn't matter whether it's illicit drugs or DVDs or movies. Okay, 20 takes the place of the ones caught. This never end because of the great demand. But the demand could end. It could. You gotta believe it could. Even if it's not all that realistic. You gotta believe it could. Okay, folks. Surely while I shared all that stuff, I missed some questions or something. So if I did, please repeat them and I'll try my best to address them. Yes, Vicky, Jesus, faith. can play a huge role in finding a pathway to clean, sober life. Here's that. Here, same mug. Probably haven't washed it since last time, but it looks clean to me. Supply and demand. Demand is really the elephant in the room that people don't talk about enough, I think. Demand. Without demand, supply dwindles. Follow the money. Yes, Unbox Life with Lori. Okay, that name, Unbox Life with Lori, that tells me you might have a lot to say, which is awesome. Okay. Follow the money. In my opinion, the deepest pockets are the insurance companies. Did y'all know insurance companies have hunters to find addicts to treat like a broker? Yeah, we do know that. We have a story about a victim who was handled by a broker. It's one of the stories in our series. I think that I can find a link by searching for broker. And there it is. Cade and the Rehab Broker. I will share a link to it. Episode number 180. Petsa, what course did you mention? I must have missed that. I was rambling on about something else, and I guess I just missed it. So what course did you mention? It had pieces of 3 of our stories? That sounds awesome. Pete, what did I say before? I said something weird. Pete, what course? Pete? The 8 dimensions of wellness is a comprehensive approach to supporting individuals in need of spirituality, social capital, health, relationships, finances, education, emotional environments, etc. Good stuff. That's interesting. The 8 dimensions of wellness. That's a new phrase to me. I've never heard that before. Yes, Stacy. God bless Pat. Pat's a great guy. He's one of our storytellers. The course you mentioned, Pete, I'm looking back to see if I can see the course you mentioned. We learned recently that Derek Maltz is using a part of one of our presentations, part of one of our stories in his presentations. So that's pretty good. You guys know who Derek Maltz is. He's the acting director for the DEA. Wellness comprises of 8 mutually codependent dimensions: emotional, physical, occupational, social, spiritual, intellectual, environmental, and financial. That's awesome, Karma. People don't talk about the financial enough. That the financial thing is really critical. And people, I guess, are afraid to talk about it because it'll look like they're being greedy. Leaving D's. You have a good time with the gang. I'll be switching it on soon as well. What are your thoughts on going after the cartels that enable the drug trade and reach into the U.S.? Going after the cartels. It seems like we have to go after the cartels. Maybe that's not a popular perspective with some folks, but they are such a far-reaching social problem. They've made when I was in my 20s and 30s, and 40s, you could go down to the border. I live in Houston. And you could go down to the border and go across the border, just walk across and go shopping. And you still can, but you don't have that sense of safety that you had before the cartels developed such a stronghold. And that's a terrible tragedy just for a bordering country. Imagine how bad it is inside the country of Mexico. People are so scared, especially the wealthy and people that don't want anyone to know it's dangerous for their families. DJ Mr. Joel. DJ Mr. Joel. Okay. Thank you for joining us. Actions speak louder than words. They certainly do. Akila Lindsay. Hello. Thank you for joining us. Glad you're here. Would opioid addicts take opium if it were available to them, and would it be less dangerous? Well, there was a time when that was the case, when opium was available. And it was made illegal because of the damage it did. So doesn't mean there's not a way. It just means all laws are reactive. Laws that restrict how pain medications can be prescribed by doctors are reactive because things weren't going right. There were pill mills, there were doctors that would write scripts without any real consideration for the patient's health. And so the laws that restricted those painkillers exist in response to a problem, reacting to a problem. And so I think that's always going to be the case. We have one cartel building on my quiet little block in Seattle. There was an ATF raid like a decade ago, and it's still going strong. How strange is that could even be a thing? Seattle, a cartel building in Seattle. That's quite a ways from the border. So experiment your question about would it be less dangerous would opioid addicts take opium if it were available to them, and would it be less dangerous if it was available legally? Then there would be probably some sort of guidelines and requirements and checks that would make it a little bit safer, probably. Karma, I just turned 45, but in my 20s, I used to write fake prescriptions for opioids 60 at a time, and pharmacies would hand them out like candy. No questions asked. And so that's a great example of why there's more laws. Jay Bell, you live in Phoenix and it's everywhere. We were just in Phoenix. We were in Phoenix 2 weeks ago. We interviewed 21 people in Phoenix over the course of 2 days, 2.5 days. Mostly fentanyl related stories. There was one story that was about domestic violence, spousal abuse. And there was one or two stories that were addiction recovery stories. Okay, Pete, what are you wowing? Are blues as common now as they were a couple of years ago? Anybody here know about that? If they're as common, less common? I don't know. A lot of the street users get off on the sketchy situations in general. I've seen this for years, but it really spread out. Sketchy situations, you mean that they get a charge from taking the chance? Is that what you're saying? When we were in Albuquerque, we did this road trip. We went to Albuquerque first and then Phoenix. In Albuquerque, we visited a street. The name of the street was Central Avenue. And that was pretty rough. It was like a smaller version of Kensington. Gotcha, Pete. Thank you for sharing. Akila Lindsay, you said hi a few minutes ago. I don't recognize your name. Have you joined us in a live chat before? Jay Bill, yep, to the Denny's. Okay, kids. Pete, first time here. So have you been watching our series? Are you you watching the fentanyl series, or have you seen any of the addiction recovery stories or some of the other stories that are on our channel? Led to your public service course. your public service course. You took a class on public service. Is that what that means? It sounds like that would be an interesting kind of class. Mary Kay McShane, thank you for joining us. Just hopped on to say hello. Fentanyl course free of charge. That's awesome. So how was the course? Did you feel like there were things that they were missing? Did you feel like you learned much? What was it? What was the course like? I'm with you, Vicky. All of our videos. It's a lot of video. Well, how would I take a look, Pete? Mary, so if you've watched all of our videos or most of them or whatever, is there any particular stories that really stand out to you? Yes, Pete, I would be totally game for taking a look. I don't know why I'm typing. Yes, I remember, Pete. I remember now. How are they going over? Are they being well received by the audiences? What kind of responses are you getting? Baby Cash. Mary, you're talking about Baby Cash. Pete, if you'd like, we can announce your class in the community section of our channel. So our channel it's YouTube, so it's international. So there's no focusing it on a specific part of the country, but we can uh, we can we can make an announcement. If you send us a graphic that's in a square format at a reasonably good resolution, at least, we can post it in a community section and make more people aware of what you're doing. Mary, okay, the 3-year-old Baby Cash. There was when we shot that interview in Kentucky, and we interviewed Ashley Green, the mother who told Baby Cash's story. And right after that, we interviewed another mother, and her story was about losing her 4-year-old in a similar situation. Being aware of an addictive personality is a good way to be aware that you have to be extra cautious. little bit on guard all the time. Mara Jones, how can I tell my story with you? Wow, Mara. Uh, we haven't turned anyone away. To share your story with us, we have to get together. So where are you at? Yes, Mary. Ready in dead impact. Just okay. That's a complicated name you got there. San Diego. Okay, we've had another inquiry from San Diego. We also had an inquiry from Los Angeles, both within the last week. So the way it works is we travel a lot. Holy cow. We have been all over the country sharing shooting stories with those who want to share their story. So I'll show you a graphic of where we've shot. Now missing from this graphic is how do we do this? There we go. Now what's not marked in this graphic is Phoenix and Albuquerque. And these are all the places where we've shot stories basically within the last 18 months or so. So that's a lot of spots. So Phoenix, wherever Phoenix is, somewhere around here, in Albuquerque. There should be stars there as well. We just haven't updated the graphic. 34 nanograms, maybe. Wow. Okay, Mara, if you want to come to us, you certainly can. We have someone coming here at the end of the week to share a story, and maybe two. So, wow, I just closed that and it went right back to me. I'm still learning. But Mary, if you wanna come here to Houston, you're welcome to do that, and we will just make sure we're in town. So you can email me if you want to try to arrange something. I can share a couple of pages. Typically, when we travel to a location, we do storytelling summits. And at these storytelling summits, yes, Mara, you can email me. Y'all are going too fast now. So here's what storytelling summits look like. There's a page on our site that has all of this information, and I will paste a link to the page in the chat. There's the page. This is it's about storytelling summits. There's really not much to them. Key to the storytelling summits is that when we go to a location, we want to shoot for at least 2 days, and we want to shoot 5 to 8 stories per day. That creates enough content for us that the stories make the trip affordable. The revenue that comes from the advertising from the stories is enough that we can recover our travel costs and make the series sustainable. And so far, it's worked really well. Mary, you can also email me and I'm going to put in our email address. You can email me there at info@texas-pictures.com. And I'm also going to share with you a page on our site that's about the process of sharing a story. And we will switch to that page about sharing a story. Here we go. So this page, thank you, Jenny. I appreciate that a lot. So here's a link to the page about sharing a story. And what it does is it goes over how to make the process go smoothly, what kind of stuff you should bring when you share your story. How you should dress. Really, any way you want to dress is fine. Darker colors tend to work better, but whatever you're comfortable in, you being comfortable is what's most important. And it also explains things like what type of photos we need, and any other material that's relevant to your story, and how best to get that stuff to us, and how best to obtain that stuff. It talks a little bit about a Freedom of Information Act request, and how that is a powerful tool to get things like the 911 call, or evidence photos, or body camera footage, those kinds of things, because it is our property. It is the American public's property. So the Freedom of Information Act is based on that. And each agency typically has their own way of applying for whatever under the Freedom of Information Act. And usually you can find that on the agency's website. Police America meet high top drug and long-time billionaires, millionaires in White House in Australia. Price one grant, $250. Try this drug. Okay, ready and impact. Yeah, okay, I don't really know. Don't really know what you're sharing there. Jenny, I don't feel like I've seen your name here before. I appreciate you being here. Is this your first time joining us in a live event? Only 800,000 young have not died. Why ganja? Are you saying that why aren't they using weed instead? Is that the message that you're conveying with that? Don't hear the word ganja so much these days. But that could just be me not getting out enough, I'm sure. All right, Pete, thanks for joining us. And you enjoy the Super Bowl or whatever you got going on. And okay, delete the D. Oh, shit. Yeah. Oh, okay. And email. I understand. Okay, supper's important too. So, Reddy, are you saying that weed's a good solution? Mara, that is an important story. If that's a different kind of perspective, a kind of powerful, solemn kind of perspective from a professional. Yes, it's terrible. We've we've produced just over 200 of these stories, and it took us a little over 2 years to do that. And that is conservatively the number of people the United States loses to fentanyl related overdoses or poisonings in a single day. Yes, Mara. Stay strong. So, Reddy, I'm going to assume that you were promoting weed. Here's the thing weed, who cares? But adolescents using weed is a different story because there is substantial amount of research that says that adolescents using weed suffer detrimental effects from doing so. But according to the Mayo Clinic, marijuana use among adolescents and young adults can affect normal brain development. This is the Mayo Clinic, leading to problems in learning, memory, coordination, reaction time, and judgment. Excessive and frequent use of marijuana is associated with a range of emotional problems among adolescents. The funny thing about that to me is when you tell someone that who uses weed and used weed when they were an adolescent, they will say, well, I never had any problems like that. But how would you know? How could you possibly know? If my mental capacity was declining, I'm not likely to realize it. Where were we? If my brain development wasn't going right, I'm not going to realize it. If I developed a problem with memory, reaction time, I'm not going to connect that with what I'm doing. So, let's see. CDC says that marijuana use has been linked to a range of mental health problems such as depression and social anxiety. People talking about adolescents, people who use marijuana are more likely to develop temporary psychosis and long-lasting mental disorders, including schizophrenia. The association between marijuana and schizophrenia is stronger in people who start using marijuana at an earlier age and use marijuana more frequently. Part of your community, you should email me, Mara. And if you're on Facebook, you can find me on Facebook and friend me, and I will send you an invite to join our private Facebook group for storytellers, for people who have shared stories with us and people who just want to share stories with us. So emailing me. Here's our email. Oops. Here's our email, Merritt. You should send me an email and we will get you into the group. Maris. So send me an email and we'll get you into the group and do your story as soon as we can. So what other questions? We've been here about an hour now, so we're gonna wrap it up soon. But I wanted to have a visit. It's a Sunday, and this is this kind of works out to be sort of a break for me from editing, and so I appreciate that. And I appreciate interacting with you folks. I wish there was easier ways to do this. At some point, I will probably set up a Google Meet link and make it available in the community where for a few hours I'll just have it on while I do other stuff and interact with people as they show up. I'll tack off. Sorry. I just left that sitting there. Stacy, you can participate, Mary. Yes. Anyone can. We haven't turned anyone away, ever. Interviews with experts on drug usage and recovery specialists. We do have a couple of interviews with recovery specialists. Karma, we have. I probably told you before, didn't we? We talked about the former U.S. drug czar. He has done tons of research about addiction and recovery. Jenny, good deal. Good deal. Well, I appreciate you being a viewer. Hope you're a subscriber and you hit that thumbs up every time you watch a video. I know it seems weird to say thumbs up to some story that is tragic, but it helps how we work. I remember in my history, in 8 years old, I smoked cigar in my head around N1. I sleep 1 12-hour case, gave ganja, candy, and same sleep long hour and funny. I understand. So ready. I get the sense that karma is probably right, and English isn't your first language. It's a little bit hard to follow that, but we're here for you, and grateful to hear from you. So, Mara, assuming you're still here, you should find me on Facebook, Glenn Muse, Glenn with one N, Glen, and Muse, M-U-S-E, like museum. Or muse as in one who inspires. But very, very grateful for you folks. And we are going to probably wrap it up. We've been here 70 minutes almost. And I feel like that's probably, again, it probably long enough. It's easy to just sit down and get to talking with you guys and lose track of time. That's kind of cool. So thank you, Fly Girl, and thank you for watching. Thank you, Pat. Thanks for being here. Always appreciate seeing you here. Thank you, Mary. Always good to see you here. And Vicky, it is cool. I'm here. Okay, Mary, just find me on Facebook. Send me a Facebook message, and we can sort something out. Thank you, Karma. Glenn Muse got a good job. Experiment was nice to hear you talk. I appreciate that. Experiment. I hope that's a good thing. Sounds like a good thing. Vicky, watch all your stories. Thank you, Vicky. Thank you for watching. Anybody else who can tell me any story in the series that really stood out to you? Yeah, the 3-year-old is a tough one. The 4-year-old is a tough one too. We also have a story that we haven't finished yet. Both the parents are in prison, and the victim was, if I remember right, about 15 months old, and the storyteller is the grandmother. So that one's coming soon. All right, kids, we're gonna get on out of here. But thank you so much for all that you guys do for us. Ah, yes, Karma, that is Kim Gillihan. Still, my wife and I still hear from Kim pretty regularly. She's pretty active in the awareness community, doing things to help people be more aware of the dangers of fentanyl. When we made that story, Kim told us about the home security video, and she didn't just allow us to use it in her story. She insisted that we use it in her story. Are you sorry for your loss, Mary? It's tough at any age when you don't see it coming. It's all tough. Stacy, you're quite a champion for us, and we're very grateful. Wade Green's story. We talked to Megan pretty frequently. She's very active in awareness, and there are still investigative issues happening related to the hospital. It's a mess, and she's such an amazing, strong person. She's also a veteran. There's no mention of that in the story, but she's a veteran. Thank you, Stacy. Thank you. I bet we meet sometime soon. All right, folks. Time to wrap it up. It's easy to just get lost in this, but need to get back to work, and I need some food, and probably going to watch some of the Super Bowl. We'll see how that goes. And so we're gonna go now. But thank you very much for joining us. I am grateful for all you guys.